Good afternoon, everyone. It's 2:30, and I'll call our Nash County regular meeting for the mid-month to order at this time, and I would ask Dan Combs if he would lead us in our invocation today.
All right. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day, Lord. We thank you for all the blessings you send to us each and every day. Lord, forgive us when we don't acknowledge the things you do for us, Lord, and when we don't worship you like we should. Lord, we just pray now that everything we do and say here today would be for the betterment of Nash County and our fellow citizens, Lord, and it would be pleasing in your sight. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Very good words, sir. Mr. Combs, I appreciate that. As y'all know, our mid-month meeting, we take up those things that generally will not wait till our regular scheduled meeting at the first of the month and try to keep those limited, which the staff does a great job on. But our primary purpose is to have two presentations during this meeting, one from an inside agent and one from an outside agent. And today, our outside agent is one of my favorite people in my work with Nash County, Wendy Marlowe, with Nash Community College, who is in industrial training. And I guess she's one of my favorite people simply because she does what I believe so much in, is our industrial training to prepare our people either to retrain them for different jobs or to have them ready for a job. And for those industries in our county that we're so blessed to have that have been here for a long time, we want to do everything we can to keep them here. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Ms. Marlowe and welcome.
It's really because where she was raised at.
I don't know where she was raised at, so, but if you say so, I believe you, sir.
Southern Nash.
Southern Nash County, okay.
Southern Nash County.
You say she's one of your favorites?
She's one of my favorites. I have many, but she indeed is. I like what she
Don't make me
does.
break that down now.
That's right, I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'll certainly take that. No, thank you.
Stacy, would you mind stepping out there since we're gonna have a public hearing and make sure we don't have no one sitting in the big room?
I'll do it.
Z's gonna do it. That's okay.
The door should be locked.
The door is locked, but I've been out there when somebody found a way in there anyway, and I just don't want to miss. The lights are on, yes.
Oh, okay.
That's what, I saw that when I come through. Everything good?
Okay.
Yeah, I'll check when you have the public
Okay.
hearing too.
All right, excuse me, ma'am. We're gonna
You're
turn it over
fine.
to you.
You're
You gonna
fine.
be up here?
I'm gonna be kind of all over the place. That's all right.
Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everybody, and again, thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Wendy Marlowe. I'm Vice President of Corporate and Economic Development and Chief Economic Officer at Nash Community College. And I'm certainly honored to be here today to talk to you about some of the wonderful things that are happening on the campus. I think I know just about all of you, as Mr. Cone says. He knows exactly where I'm from, Southern Nash County, Southern Nash High School graduate, and been at Nash Community College now going on 17 years. I know, you can't believe it. I started when I was 12. But certainly, yeah, there you go. I'll take it. So I'm going to start, what I'm going to do is give an overview of, again, some of the great things that are happening on campus. I'm going to talk about some of the customized industry training that we have going on, and then I'm going to give you a broad look at some of the awesome things that we have going on in continuing education and talk about some of the new buildings. So some people may ask, why do you choose Nash Community College? So here are some of the questions. Local industries require customized training for their current workforce. Employers seek a trained workforce in vocations such as welding, electric line technician work, CDL truck driver training. Employers who seek personnel who are trained in the service industry such as nursing, fire protection, and law enforcement. And local families who just want an affordable, reliable, transferable solution to the first 2 years of college. That's why you choose Nash Community College. So let me take it a bit further, and I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Outside of my visit here today, how many of you have ever been touched by Nash Community College? Okay, good show of hands. Outside of my visit today, how many of you have been touched by Nash Community College today? Good answer. If you live and you work in Nash County, then you've been touched by Nash Community College today. And let me tell you why. The electric line students who maintain the flow of electricity to your home or place of business was trained at Nash Community College. The law enforcement officer, the fireman, or the EMT who stand ready to answer the call in an emergency are being trained at Nash Community College today. The nurse who manages your care in a medical facility has most likely been trained at Nash Community College. The truck driver who transported your groceries, your furniture, your clothes, your office supplies has been trained at Nash Community College. The welder who helped construct your building or your office or your home or that bridge that you cross daily has most likely been trained at Nash Community College. So you get the picture. I could go on, but as our president likes to say, careers are born at Nash Community College. And we are proud to step up and answer why you should choose Nash Community College. So today I'm excited to share with you some of the great, wonderful things that are happening on campus. This fall, we will enroll our very first cohort of veterinary medical technology students. We're looking to have about 20 students in that program, up from 16. This is a 2-year degree program and is the only one that we have in Eastern North Carolina. The closest you'll find is in Sanford. And so, as you can imagine, our veterinary professionals are very happy to have this training program right here in their backyard. There's 2 new buildings on campus that we're in the middle of constructing. It's the Advanced Manufacturing Building as well as the Cosmetology Building. I like to say you can come, build a computer, and get your hair and your nails done on the same day, right across from each other. These construction projects are made possible thanks to funding from the Connect NC bond, which North Carolina voters supported during the March 2016 primary election, and thank you to the county commissioners for all you do on a daily basis to help us make this a reality. The Cosmetology Building comprises about 10,000 square feet and features salon lab areas, academic classrooms, and lab instructional areas. And you really can come get your nails done and your hair done. It's open to the public. It's only like $5 to get these things done. You should give us a try. The Advanced Manufacturing Building is going to be comprised of 16,000 square feet and provides academic and training spaces for students enrolled in our computer integrated machining, electrical systems, industrial systems, welding and electronics, and electrical electronics engineering. So a lot going on there. Speaking of engineering, Nash Community College now offers an associate's degree in engineering that prepares students for transfer to NC State. We're also very proud of our culinary program.
That's the only school they transfer to for engineering?
No, sir. Not the only one, but we're proud to say that we've had a collaboration with NC State for many years, but industry, advanced manufacturing industry has said for years they need something locally, and so we were able to get that completed. We're also very proud of our culinary program, which also houses our Tuscan pizza patio. Has anybody ever had the opportunity to go have some pizza and drink a cold beverage? Okay, you're all invited. It's on me. I'll make sure Dr. Carver knows that. That culinary kitchen also overlooks the vegetable and herb garden, which is cultivated by our very own master gardener and harvested by our culinary students for their use in the classroom. We're also a designated tree campus and a designated bee campus. We did, it's National Green Day on our campus, and we actually planted a new tree today. We also have a Live Well and Learn Trail. Were you aware of that? It's about 2.5 miles. It's a loop that loops around the whole campus. It's open to the public, and it winds through the wooded areas of campus with learning stations along the way. We have an 18-hole disc golf course on campus, which is also open to the public. We have a radio station. We have a television station. If you have ever turned to 89.1, you may have heard our student-run radio station, and if you ever want to come on there and give a shout out about anything you're doing, we're certainly be glad to have you. We're set to begin a broadcast technology degree program in the near future. So we have a lot going on. Now I know this is a lot of information, but there's so much to tell. So we're proud of our college. We're proud of your college. And I hope you can see after this presentation why so many people indeed choose Nash. So having said all that, now we're going to get to the presentation. Those are just a few words I have. So we are experiencing an exciting new year. How many of you have heard of our brewing, distillation, and fermentation program? Okay. How many of you had a chance to sample some of our products? Okay. Well, you're all invited. Not only for pizza on the Tuscan, outdoor Tuscan patio, but we actually have a classroom at the Rocky Mount Mills. It's about 1,000 square foot. It's our production lab. We have a small classroom on campus, but we also have a larger footprint at the mills. And if you were there Friday night watching Nantucket, you may have seen some of our students out there. So that program we're very proud of. As I mentioned, the cosmetology and advanced manufacturing buildings are in progress. I'm happy to report that we are on schedule. We look to take control of that building in July. I actually just left a construction meeting with the general contractors and all of the folks involved with that process. And then, we have the Vet Tech program. Again, I mentioned that where we're approved to offer that program, and there's some renderings that we'll be sharing with you very shortly about that. If anybody's not been to the continuing education building, I certainly invite you to come. It is 78,000 square feet of wonderfulness. It's where I live, and when I say that's where I live, that's what I mean. That's where I live. We've had that building now, it's hard to believe, about 3 years. June of 2015 it was opened, and it just holds a plethora of training opportunities. In that building, we have a 8-lane indoor firing range. We have an aseptic clean room facility that we built with our Pfizer friends in mind. So instead of sending them to Maryland now, or sending them to Raleigh to the Capstone Center, they just come right across down the highway and come to us, and we're able to save them, as you can imagine, thousands of dollars by offering that training. And they hold training there on a monthly basis. We also have all of our public safety training in that building. We have our mock 911 center in that building. It's just outstanding. Just some numbers. The community college system is generally made up of curriculum classes, the classes that you can take for about 2 years and get an associate degree and then transfer on to a 4-year university. And in that realm, we serve about anywhere from 3,000 to 3,200 students a year. So those were our numbers from 2017. We offer 100 academic programs. We have some unique programs at Nash Community College under the curriculum heading, and those are some of those. I want to point out the electric line construction technology program. You may or may not know that we're the only community college in the state of North Carolina that offers a 2-year associate degree program in electric line technology. Now, there are other community colleges that have academies, the short-term training that people can learn the process very quickly and go to work with Duke Energy, the EMCs, the municipalities, the electricities. So I'm pleased to say not only do we offer the Electric Line Academy in the fall and the spring, we just recently began offering a summer academy, an underground academy specific for Duke and Pike, and we'll be offering 2 of those programs this summer. Also, when you go to work with Duke and the EMCs and electricities, you're going to come back to Nash Community College to further your training. So we provide all of the training for all those people. In fact, there was how many people without power last night because of the storm? You could hear they were most likely trained at Nash Community College. So we provide all the training for the electric line utility industry in the state of North Carolina. We also have a very rich relationship with our Nash Rocky Mount school system. I'd say second to none. In fact, as you can see, we offer pathways. My son actually took advantage of that opportunity, so he began taking classes in the 11th grade, absolutely free of cost, through the Career and College Promise. So by the time he graduated Rocky Mount High School last June, he had 22 credit hours under his belt coming to Nash, and I'm happy to say he'll finish his first degree at 19 next May, and then he'll transfer to ECU to get his 4-year degree. So a lot, if you want to save money, if you want to get really good instruction, you should choose this pathway. We have articulation agreements with many of the colleges, all of the colleges you see there. We're currently enhancing some of our agreements with East Carolina University, Wesleyan, NC State at this time. How many of Nash Community College transfer graduates has successfully transferred to four-year institutions? That many. So if State or Carolina or Duke or Elizabeth City or wherever else is your first choice and you're not able to get in there for whatever reason, come to us the first 2 years. Then you're going to get there. It's guaranteed. As long as you do what you're supposed to do and you graduate successfully. Now you got to do the work, but we're very, very proud of that number. So all of our students who successfully complete that program have a 100% rate of transferring. Okay, so now I'm going to focus a little bit on the continuing education side of the house. I have the privilege of overseeing all of the Con Ed classes. I probably have it in here, but do you know, the purpose is to provide adults with quality and convenient learning opportunities, whereas Mr. Davis was talking about retraining and training individuals for industry, provide cultural awareness in some cases, provide self-improvement. I think I've got some numbers. Now look at the numbers that we served in continuing education. Now you remember the numbers that you saw for curriculum? And that's not to put anybody down, or it's apples and bananas, it's apples and horses. So again, those 3,200 students are there to earn an associate degree. Well, look how many students we served on the Con Ed side. The Con Ed side offers classes to those people who are looking a year or less of training. So that's going to be your firefighters, your EMT, your paramedic, your law enforcement, BLET. If you want to come for a basket weaving class, that number is in there as well. And you see that it's a duplicated head count, meaning Sally Sue or Johnny Joe may have decided to take more than one class. But again, we still have to touch that many students, so it's quite impressive. Offered over 1,800 classes, and you see the unduplicated head count there. So we've got busy staff. Also on the Con Ed side, the registration fees are very nominal. It is dependent upon how many hours of training you get. So if you were to come take a class that's for 24 hours, you're going to pay the $70. And if you take a class over 51 hours, it's going to be the $180. So again, they also include these certification classes that I mentioned. Just some other continuing education training that we have, anything from automotive to culinary to trades, construction, HRD, our human resource development classes, which I'll get into a little bit, but those classes are free to individuals who are unemployed and underemployed. So often we're called when there is a closing for a plant or a facility. Then we go out and we say, have you thought about coming to the community college, and we can help retrain you in a short amount of time. A lot of people don't have 2 years to wait and get retrained and get back in the workforce. So we do a lot of that on the Con Ed side. We have truck driver training classes. How many of you all have seen us rolling down the highway? Okay, well, we have trained well over 1,000 students. We've been operating that program for over 10 years, and we have well over 1,000 students. We offer Class A, which is your 18-wheeler training. We offer your Class B training, which is the Pepsi-Cola trucks and the moving vans and the beer trucks and all of those things. So we offer, we're comprehensive. We actually have an agreement with Waste Industries that we train for 7 states for them. They've donated a couple of vehicles for us, and we're very thankful for that. So we have a comprehensive training program. We also are the only community college in the state that has a simulation system. So if you haven't had an opportunity to come and sit down in that and take that for a spin, come on out and do so. It's really good on gas.
And
You just
track where they get jobs once they complete the training.
Absolutely. In fact, we require 3 pre-hire letters, and we're in collaboration with a company called Sage Technical Services. So they have to provide lifetime job placement opportunities. So if they graduate from our school and they move to Ohio, then we have to help them find a job out there too, because Sage is located all over the United States.
Well, that's where I'm hearing a lot of go.
Out west?
Missouri.
Yes.
And I hear the trucking companies around here saying they have a shortage of keeping drivers.
Yes, sir. And I've heard the same thing, and that's why I've been having a whole lot of meetings. Cargo Transportation has just completed about a $6 million investment in their hub, And so I can't, our people are hired before they graduate from our class. And we offer classes every single month, and we offer classes on the weekends. So 7 days a week, we're literally rolling down the road with truck driver training. We have 7 days a week, and so, you know, the weekend classes are for those who want to get into the profession. But yeah, we have, people seek our graduates for sure. But you're right, we hear that quite often. Again, we work with all the fire and health services, the questions I asked you earlier. Even when you're a seasoned law enforcement officer, such as Deputy Chief Medina in the back, how often do you come back to Nash Community College for not only to train, but to do some teaching yourself?
At least once a month.
Right, quite a bit. So on any given day, we can have anywhere from 2 law enforcement officers to 200 on our campus. And I like to say that I'm in the safest building on campus. So if there's any kind of craziness or shooting, we've got all the BLET folks. If there's any kind of fire, we've got all the fire folks. If anybody needs paramedics, it's right there. And I'm happy to be where I'm at. So you see Dispatcher Academy. I know the county commissioners are well aware of the Dispatcher Academy we have. Again, law enforcement training. If you've not had a chance to come and talk to us or visit our indoor firing range, again, I asked you to give me a call when I'll set up a tour for you. All right, I do want to focus a little bit on customized industry training. Mr. Outlaw, Ms. Wells, Mr. Davis, some of you may have heard me talk about this, but we do a whole lot of training with the industry, and we save them a whole lot of money. And I know there's been a whole lot of conversation about what's going on in Edgecombe County, and you're right, it is. And we're happy about that because it's going to help us as a region. But I want you to know that I work very closely with Norris Tolson and Krista Eichert and those good people. And sometimes we're at the table when those companies are trying to make that decision on whether to locate to North Carolina or another state. We are part of that decision-making process because we talk to them about the training opportunities we have at Nash Community College. We are the economic engine for this community in terms of training. We want them to know that without a shadow of a doubt. So we do anything from industrial safety classes, math for measurement, blueprint reading, to your very technical robotics, computer integrated machining training. So often in companies such as Cummins, Rocky Mount Engine Plant, they will come to us for training and then make a decision on what kind of equipment to purchase based on the training they got from us. So as you can imagine, that training relationship is second to none. Currently, we are working with 10 companies this month. We have some of our own job growth opportunities that exist at Atlantic Natural Foods. If you've heard of those good folks, they're going to be adding about 15 additional jobs in the next 18 months. We've got a project ongoing with Belt Concepts in Spring Hope, North Carolina. Berry Global, we have a project going on with them. Cheesecake Factory, they're actually going to be moving a new product line from California to Rocky Mount. Dormacaba, we do intensive training with those folks. Draka, Nut Cow, they are offering, they'll be adding additional jobs and also adding a new research and design department. Normally, things that they wanted to try out, they'd have to go to Italy to do, where they're going to do it right here in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, and we're going to help them. Pfizer, as I mentioned, we have the aseptic clean room training, so the training that was going to happen in Maryland and Raleigh, they just come down 301, come to Nash Community College. Rocky Mount Engine Plant, Rocky Mount Mills. Again, I could go on, but I will not. I did want to mention our relationship with Atlantic Coast Pipeline. About 6 weeks ago, I had a phone call, and they said, we heard that you were the place to come if we wanted to create a curriculum for training. I said, well, you got that right. So I met with some officials from the union and the Atlantic Coast Pipeline, and they said we need about 600 jobs filled, but 200 of those 600 jobs are going to be pipeliners. So those jobs are going to entail OSHA 10 training, first aid CPR, rigging, hand signaling, tool identification, pneumatics, hydraulics, and guess what? I already have all that stuff going on right now in my Electric Line Construction Academy. So I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I just have to bundle it in a different way. I'm seeking some instructors right now that may want to teach at night. We're thinking it's going to be about a 40-hour training program. We're going to offer that in the evening. So after you come through and successfully complete that program, then you're going to be offered a job at $19 an hour, $45 per day per diem, retirement, family health care. It's really quite incredible. We are helping the Atlantic Coast Pipeline recruit so we can have a well-trained workforce. We know that there's about a 2-year commitment in this area for that pipeline training. That pipeline begins in West Virginia and goes all the way down to Robeson County, but with the understanding that it's probably not going to end there. So we want you to know that we are a integral part of, we're actually creating the training for them. So I just did a bit with Gene Kitchen with WHIG, and that information will be forthcoming, and also you may have read it in a newspaper article. So lots of things happening there. That's just customized training, active projects, and proposals at a glance. And I just spoke about all of that. Trades and construction, I've spoken about the Atlantic Coast Pipeline. Last week was the North Carolina Construction Awareness Week. It was the first time we've ever done that in the state of North Carolina. Nash Community College chose to have an event last Wednesday, and it was well attended with over 100 students from Nash Rocky Mount Public Schools. Also, I had a call from the superintendent of Halifax County. He said, "I heard y'all having an event. Can we bring some of our kids?" I said, "Absolutely." It's Dr. Eric Cunningham. He came and brought a slew of students with him, and as a result, we're going up to do a presentation to Halifax County to talk about what a wonderful career the Underground Academy and Electric Line Academy and all the construction-related fields. Again, these are just some opportunities we have for additional training in Con Ed, manicurist, notary public, ServSafe, Alive at 25. You may not know this, but if you have a child, a grandchild, a niece, a nephew, and they're 25 or younger, and they get a speeding ticket, you can send them to a class at Nash Community College, and it is forgiven, and that's something we worked out with the district attorney's office. And it's a really great program for people who make that mistake, and they're able to come through this program and get their certification. They're able to take that off of their record. We also have many computer trainings available at the college, personal enrichment, as you can see there, and you may have attended some. Of course, they're seasonal, but with it spring coming up in summer, then there's Christmas decorations and all these different cooking opportunities that coincide with the correct season. Again, very nominally fee-based. I won't go through all of those, but crocheting and knitting, sewing, stain class, shag lessons. Who wants to learn how to line dance? Come on. So, small business and professional development opportunities as well. We have a robust small business center, so if you're interested in starting a business, you can come to us. So we have teacher education training, so if you want to become a substitute teacher in the Nash Rocky Mount school system, you're most likely going to come through one of our programs. HRD classes are the ones that I mentioned to you a little while ago for folks who are unemployed or underemployed. So we offer all of these classes free of cost. So they can come in there and they can say, "Oh, I want to take Pathway to Cosmetology," and they may find out that they really like that and they could go into the longer term training, or they may take it and say, "This is not for me," and they haven't had to invest much money or time or energy. Summer youth classes. Last year, in celebration of our 50th anniversary at the college, we're now in our 51st year, we offered 50 summer classes. This year, we're offering about 40, and not because we don't want to offer 50, but we've consolidated some of them. As you can see, drawing camp, video gaming, cake design, culinary. We have fashion shows with the kids. Basketball, soccer, as you can imagine, just about anything you can think of, we have a summer camp for it. So we're very excited about that. Oh, there's some more. Summer Bridge, Crime Detectives, Firefighter Junior Academy, just anything that you could imagine. I do, before I want to get there, I want to just mention to you, you probably are aware that Nash County has applied to be a work-ready community. And we've met with Nash County leaders, and Mr. Davis and I are on that committee. And I'm happy to say that in order to meet that distinction, you have to meet criteria in the area of high school graduation rates, which check, we've done. You have to also meet criteria in the area of your certified work-ready credential, and we've done that. And so now we have to get 120 businesses in Nash County to say they support the CRC. The CRC is a work-ready credential that's portable and nationally recognized, and it just ensures to an employer that they have a certain skill set. And so that doesn't mean that you have to employ the CRC in your business and or company. It just means you support it. So when we first started this journey, we had about 20. Now we're up to about 60 some, right? So, and you don't have to be a large organization. You can be a fire department. You can be anybody here that's affiliated with a company or an organization that has more than 5 employees. You can go on the website and just click and sign up. It takes you less than 1 minute. And if you need any help figuring that out, I will be glad to help you with that. So to that point, I know again that was a whole lot of information, and I could go on and on, but I will not. But does anybody have any questions for me about all the great things that are happening at the college?
I got time for about 3 questions.
Well, I got 2.
Okay.
All right.
Well, you better start begging then. Go ahead.
One is, you didn't mention that you have foreign students
We
enrolled.
do. We do. We have the English as a second language program, and we do. We have.
I'm thinking about not having located here, but I'm thinking maybe coming from other
Oh,
countries.
okay, right. Absolutely, we do. We have both traditional foreign students who come on campus, and then we have a very robust online department that they can take classes online, and they can, in fact, China. Somebody from China is taking a class at Nash Community College, so absolutely we do.
My other question is one that I've been concerned about and have expressed it a lot of places. Industries, you know, sometimes we come up and say it's a shock that all of a sudden they announce they're closing down. They may be downsizing, or they may have lost a contract. Any way that community college can work with them to make sure that they not make sure, but help them to operate more efficient.
Before that happens?
Before that happens,
Right.
that's right, that's right.
Absolutely. Well, if they ask, we shall deliver. So,
Why not let them know that you can do this?
Absolutely.
This is the concern. We
Sure.
won't wait until folks ask. Let them know what you can do to help them.
yes, sir. And that's part of my charge, is that I work with business and industry on a daily basis, and I'm around the table with anybody from the plant manager, the vice president, the owner, to the HR and the training entity, and that's what our message, we try to let them know as much as we can. Part of our yearly strategic plan is to visit business and industry, both large and small, anywhere from Butterfield's Candies, who employs just a handful of people, all the way up to your Cummins and your Pfizer's and whatnot. We try to get the information as best we can, and I hope that they know that if they're having any kind of issues or whatnot, certainly reach out to us, because we're all about Lean Six Sigma, efficiency, effectiveness, and then unfortunately, if we don't know about that, you know, it's hard for us to assist. But once we find out, we're there.
I think you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you.
But that's just one that.
I understand.
Has been a concern of mine for several years.
I
now,
understand.
that a lot of those things happen.
Other questions for Wendy at this time? Wendy, no one else has one. I'm gonna ask one question. Do you enjoy what you're doing?
I love it.
All right.
Thank you for asking that. And I just want to point out that many of you, if you live in Nash County, you most certainly received our summer schedule for continuing education. You might notice that they're smaller in size this year. They were a little larger than this. I like the new size. It's easier to handle. If you didn't get one and you're interested, I thought of you for your perusal at another time. How's that? May I leave these right up here or give them to you?
You can give them to the clerk
I'll
right
give
here.
them to you. Okay.
Yep, and we greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great
Thank you all so
presentation.
much.
Let's give her a hand.
I have had a request to tell you about a very special event that's coming up on April the 28th. It's called Blue Fest. Thank you, Miss Wells. You're all invited, and you can tell Dr. Carver I said you get free pizza and free, can I say, cold beverages. And you can tour anything you want that day. It starts with our Run for Knowledge. About 8:30 that morning. It's just an opportunity to celebrate work well done. We'll have everything from food trucks to petting animals to the run to the disc golf. Yes, bees. I mean, it's just a tremendous opportunity to come out and support the college and just see all the great things that we have going on. So thank you for that. April 28th.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Outlaw, for lining that up for us. Next item on the agenda, item 4, is our in-house presentation. That will be done by Thomas Gillespie on Nash County Miracle Park at Coopers. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Now, you in the position that I didn't want to be in this morning, who I had to follow. Now
Yes,
you
I
got to
am.
follow with it. But you'll do a great job. You go ahead, sir.
Thank y'all for having me. I'm going to give an update on the Nash County Miracle Park at Coopers, as well as an update on our program participation numbers and our programs that we're providing here with Nash County Parks and Recreation Department. This is my 4th year here with the county, and I must say I've worked with 3 other departments and 3 other government agencies, and this is by far the best job that I've had in the Parks and Recreation business. All right.
You're doing a good job.
Thank you. Currently, we are in the process of selecting a vendor to design the all-inclusive playground that will be at the park. In August, we received a $750,000 grant from Trillium Health Resources to develop the playground. This playground will be accessible for children with all ages, with all abilities, ages 2 to 12. We put out a request for qualifications for the design of the playground in March. We received a response from 6 different companies. Our park committee has reviewed the responses and has decided to bring in 3 companies for a presentation within the next couple of weeks. During the presentation, each company will provide a document with prices of equipment so we can be able to compare line for line, basically apples for apples. Twin County Catalyst Coordinator Shanika Kent has also approached us. Twin County Catalyst has offered to pay for playground and walking trail signage at the Nash County Miracle Park at Coopers. We must have the signage ordered by May 31st. For those that are not familiar with Twin County Catalyst, it is a healthy eating and active living program. The Catalyst works to address key risk factors for chronic diseases by increasing support for active living and healthy eating in Nash and Edgecombe County. Our park committee has chosen the detail and color of the signage, and we're waiting for a quote from Glasgow Sign Service so we can get that to Twin County Catalyst. On Friday, Mike Phillips, Mike Tosin, and myself met with Mr. Harold Winstead from the Coopers Community Development Corporation. Mr. Winstead and the Coopers Development Corp has been part of the planning process since 2008. We are working on a brochure for the naming rights of the baseball fields, soccer fields, walking trails, picnic shelters, and other amenities at the park. The funds that are recovered from the brochure will be, the funds that are raised by Coopers Development Corporation will assist with the development of the park at the Nash County Miracle Park at Coopers. We also applied for a $60,000 grant to assist with the construction of the baseball and softball fields at the Nash County Miracle Park at Coopers in December of last year. On February 20th, a representative from the company came down to hear a presentation from our park committee and visited the site off of Joyner Road. We are very optimistic that we will be awarded the grant for the $60,000. At this time, I would like to pass out a project timeline and that was made by our county engineer, Mr. Mike Tosin. Pass this around to the board and administration. Also included are our program numbers for the past 5 years from the Recreation Department. Basically, this project timeline is completed tasks from last year and also upcoming tasks for the park that's going to be at Cooper's. In September 2017, we had an initial scoping meeting. That meeting consists of coordination of Trillium and Part F schedules and finalized layout. Back in February, we had the survey work complete. We had topographic and wetland surveys completed and approval by the Army Corps of Delineations. In the spring of 2018, Stocks Engineering Company completed the design. We are on target to have the completed drawings ready by the end of April. Have that out to permit the 1st of May, out for bid at the end of May, and we're looking at opening the bids at the end of June. Early July, we will award the project and execute the contracts. December 2018 is when we plan on beginning construction. Mid-July, we're hoping to begin the grading operation, and that will take approximately 6 months. Any questions on the park before I move on to our program participation numbers?
You might just want to mention part of and also the commissioner's contribution.
Yes. Part of, we received a $500,000 grant from Part of, which is a local agency in Raleigh, and commissioners and the county and administration has matched that $500,000 grant. So it's going to be a big project. I want to say it's going to be a total of $1.2 million, if I'm not mistaken. So we're looking forward to this project. I'm excited. This is the first type of this is the first time I've been involved with the development of a park, and I'm really looking forward to it. And as Mr. Lamb said, I just want to thank the commissioners for all their hard work with this project.
Any other questions about the park?
All your permits, you have all your permits and everything, environmental okays and it.
I'll answer that. But we've gotten our delineations approved by the Army Corps. We have not gone for our sanitation, road control, stormwater permits yet, simply because the drawings are still being finalized. We expect to go out, I believe we said, middle of May. Hope to have them back by May 30 before we put it out on the street for bid. But should have everything back. Don't expect there to be any issues with anything. We've cleared up all of our environmental concerns on the site.
Thank you, Mike. And Mike, our county engineer, he's been very instrumental and helpful in this project as well, especially with all the environment work and the contracts and the design. So thank you, Mike, as well. Any more questions? All right, well, also in the packet that I passed out is just some of our program participation numbers since 2013. If you look at, I just want to go over 2017. Highlighted in the gold is the year that we've had the most participation here with Nash County, and over the past year, our numbers are steadily increasing. We've had implemented multiple new programs such as flag football, which we had opening day this past year at Castelia Community Park and at Nashville Elementary. We have over 127 participants in that program. Daddy-daughter dance is another one of our bigger programs, which is sold out every year. The numbers made since 2016 through 2017, they look different, but they're only off by 4. The reason why I think they're different because you may have a dad that comes in that has multiple daughters, so it's still a sold-out event every year. We offer a variety of different summer camps here with the county: volleyball, basketball, football, and we had over 282 participants in that camp last year. We're really trying to get into offering more adult sports. This past year we offered adult basketball, and we're hoping to offer adult soccer this coming summer, and hopefully we can bring back adult softball as well. And we also had interest in offering a 40 and over basketball league, so we're probably going to implement that as well. Our biggest program that we have here in the county is spring soccer. We have over 586 participants in soccer. 430 of those participants are in Red Oak, and the rest are in the Bailey Middlesex Park. But this past spring, it's been a busy spring with soccer, and Red Oak has the most participants that it has ever had, and the program in Bailey as well. So our crew is staying busy. We are a staff of 5, 3 program coordinators, administrative support specialists, and myself, and we really enjoy what we're doing, and hopefully we can continue to provide good quality programs for the citizens here in Nash County. Any questions?
Any questions of Thomas at this time?
You have enough soccer fields, 'cause I expect that's I see over there in Rocky Mountain, they have 7 or 8 of them, and Saturday were all filled up.
Well,
So it's spreading, so I just wondering, do you need additional soccer fields?
we need additional soccer fields and baseball fields at the park in Red Oak. Hopefully the park that we're developing at Cooper's can get some of those participants to go to the Cooper's area, so we have more field availability at the park in Red Oak. But the way the programs is growing, during baseball season, once the games start, teams are running out of days to practice. So that's been a kind of like a constraint that I've been dealing with, a challenge, was trying to find more practice space for the teams once the games start. But it's steady growing, and I expect it to continue to grow.
Okay.
Other thoughts or questions? Thomas, great presentation. Let's give Thomas a hand as well. We're now on item 5 on our agenda, which is a public hearing for the intent of selling, I don't like that word, but that's what the general statute says we must use, which says for the intent to sell Nash County Home Health. And I'll turn it over to Bill Hill for his presentation prior to opening the public hearing.
Well,
And if you have, I know I see one of your board members here, if you would introduce any board members you have here.
okay, I do see Mr. Elmer I'm sorry.
Elmer.
I'm sorry. Mr. Burt Daniel. I'm so fond of his father, I mentioned that.
You're telling
But
your
Mr.
age, Bill.
I can, I have. Mr. Burt Daniel from the Human Services Board, and we've got 4 staff members, 2 from CAP and from our home health agency here. Today is a time designated for the public hearing pursuant to the general statute 131E that requires such a public hearing. That is what the chairman had just said, that is to consider any and listen to any comments that are forthcoming regarding the resolution to consider the intent to sell home health. This has been properly advertised more than 15 days. 15 days minimum was the court requirement. It was advertised in at least 2 it's required for 1. We advertised in 3, but it did show up in 2 newspapers on the 29th of March. But this is a matter to ensure the quality of health for the community in which we serve, and that's the beginning of the preface for the public hearing today.
Any questions of Mr. Hill prior to me calling for public hearing? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to go into public hearing at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Wells, second by Mr. Outlaw. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now in a public hearing, as we stated, and the public hearing is for the intent to hear from the public at this time, from anyone that may be for this selling of the Nash County home health, or anyone that wishes to speak against it. What we'd ask you to do is to come forward up to the microphone, give us your name and your address, and we'll be glad to hear from anyone on either side at this point, whether you're for it or whether you're against it. No one wishes to speak at this time? Seeing none, commissioners, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing at this time. Moved by Mr. Outlaw, is there a second to that motion? Second by Commissioner Combs. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries as well. Ms. Till, you want to give me some guidance what my next move is, or any action plan for today, or
No action.
no action plan
No
for
action.
today? Anything else you'd like to say at this time?
Just that it's all is still being analyzed, the offers that have been forthcoming have been analyzed, and have yet to reach any kind of confirmed recommendation at this point.
Do you have, you or our manager, Mr. Lamb, have any timetable on how we'll be moving forward with this item? Will it come back to commissioners at our next meeting, or where are we at with that? And where are we at with the proposals? They have been received, I think, or in the process of?
In the process.
Yeah, we've received proposals. There will be some meetings in the next week. And I would think that we can have a report, if not a recommendation, on the 6th of May.
You've got to have a public hearing on those proposals within 30 days of the day.
Okay.
Okay.
Then we
So
would have,
a public hearing on the actual proposals.
okay, we would, and how much time do we have to give? 10 days,
10
15 days?
10 days.
Okay, we'll probably have to have the public hearing then on the 6th. And that would, is it the 6th? Is that the right date? 7th? Okay, 7th of May and the 21st of May. We may know a little bit more, but it may be after that. We've had conference calls, and certain due diligence can take longer at times. If
I think it's got to be more than 30 days, not less than 30 after today's date. So it's not going to be able to be held on the 7th.
okay,
In statute, actually says not less than 45 days after, and not less than 30 days after conducting the public hearing.
okay.
I don't quite understand what you're saying, Mr. Durham. You're saying conduct a public hearing on the proposals. So what would that look like?
Our consultant will come in here and make a presentation on the proposals
In a public hearing?
in the public hearing.
Okay, I got you. I'm kind of learning, of course, none of us in
We're
here
all learning.
have not been through this before.
We haven't
so
done this
kinda-
before, yeah.
And of course, Mr. Durham's charged with keeping us straight on the thing.
I have a question.
Mr. Lamb?
Mr. Durham, and, so on the same day that a recommendation from the consultant is made, we have a public hearing on that same day?
But I think we can talk to the commissioners probably in closed session prior to that.
Okay, okay. So, do they need to call a public hearing at this time for, say, the 21st of May, or? It's gotta be 30
It's
days.
gotta be less than 30 days after the
Oh,
date.
less than 30 days.
Not less than 30.
Y'all saying,
My brain's not working on that.
y'all saying two different things, I think. Are you saying
No more than 45.
no more, no less than 30, no
Less
more than
than
45?
days after conducting a public hearing on the resolution, which is what we just did, we shall conduct a public hearing on proposals for lease or purchase that have been made.
Okay, so, and once we call it, we have to advertise it 10 days before?
Correct.
Okay.
Wouldn't May the 7th meet that criteria?
That's what I was seeing, maybe May the 7th.
We're having a budget meeting on the 30th. If you called for a public hearing then, I don't think we can make it to the 7th, but, what do you recommend, Mr. Durham? Do we need?
I'm still not clear what you're saying, because it seemed like you said we couldn't do it on the 7th, and now I'm hearing we might can do it
Backing
on.
off on that, that's correct.
Okay. Well, explain to me one more time, Mr. Durham. I've got to get it straight
Not
in my
less
head.
than 30 days after today, we've got to have a public hearing.
Not less than
Not
30.
less, and I'm,
Okay.
Can't have it so.
Yeah.
And what was the second part? Not,
that's all it said.
what was the 45 days?
That's after adopting the resolution, which
after.
we did 15 days ago.
Okay, I think I got it now. So it seemed like we could indeed do it on the 7th. And do we
We'll call
need,
a special meeting on the
Not less than
15th or
30
16th.
days. Not less than 30 days.
I'm gonna let you two lead.
Today.
More than 30 days.
I'm gonna let
Not
you,
less is
Be
more.
on May 7th.
It's got to be May
I'll let y'all
21st.
decide that. I'm gonna read it after this meeting. I'll read it and tell you what I think.
Now, I'm thinking, if it's not less than, that means at least 30 days.
Right, more than
That was
30
my
days.
initial reaction, and then Mr. Davis convinced me I was wrong.
now, Mr. Davis didn't convince you, I just asked you to clarify it.
So we could do it on the 21st.
Are we gonna get the report as commissioners before we have a public hearing or anything
Yes.
else?
We will, sir.
Yes.
Now, I think what Mr. Durham was saying and is that would be something that we would review in closed session prior to having the public hearing, if I didn't misunderstand him a second time.
That's correct.
Okay.
And we can't get it before closed session?
We will see. We don't have it, I mean, well,
Well,
we've got an
Well, I mean,
outline.
as commissioner, I like to study
Yeah, we'll,
before, because if we get in closed session, we'll be closer ready to make a decision. I still have the same concerns that I expressed before.
we can, as soon as the consultant and the attorney that's representing the county out of Raleigh says we can release it, we can release it. Is that correct? We can't release it yet.
Well, I understand, I just want
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
know the whole details of it before, it gets to the point where we're gonna make a decision.
yes, we should be able to get that to you before actually walking into the closed session, yes.
Mr. Lamb, I'm gonna ask you and Mr. Durham, is
Do
there
a
any
timeline.
action I need to take today concerning this as far as calling an additional public hearing or anything else?
21st? Sounds like we need to call one for May the 21st.
Do I call that today, or is that just the advertising process?
I don't see any reason not to, at this time.
Is that board action, sir? Looking at Mr. Durham. Do I need to have the board take that action?
And I think the chairman can schedule it, then we'll have to
Okay.
publish it.
All right, well, I will schedule a public hearing on the proposals for this for, the 21st
Of May.
of May,
At,
and that would be at 2:30.
For ease of reviewing these proposals, which I know are going to be lengthy and, not easily understood in some cases,
they have been summarized.
that's what can we get a summary comparing the different proposals?
Yeah.
All right, anything else on this item? Still, thank you, sir. Oh, another comment?
I'm just gonna make one comment
Sure.
that our consultant said in defense to the folks in question here about that general statute. It was the most convoluted written statute they'd ever seen. So it is very confusing in the way that it is written, or at least to me.
Mm-hmm. Apparently to more than you, sir, in the room.
It is, 'cause I'm sitting there looking at it, and it's confusing me.
Okay, all right. Well, we've at least, set a date for a public hearing and give y'all due time to analyze the statute a little bit more, because we certainly want to get it right when we do it. All right, I'm gonna move on to, item number 6 on the agenda, which is a taxpayer refund request, which is outside of the, or beyond the general statute 105-318. Mr. Wren, you with us today?
Yes, sir.
Welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, what I have to bring before you today is a refund request that's a little unusual, and it does go beyond the scope of 105-381, which you all have had to deal with quite a few times before, limits the types of refunds. In other words, we can only refund in property tax basically for either an illegal tax, a tax that could be described as or defined as an illegal tax, or a tax, a clerical error on the face of a document or what have you. And then when we can refund, we can only refund for the current year plus 5 years back. In other words, a maximum of 6 years refund. We have Mr. Guthrie, Mr. Thomas Guthrie of 3153 North Old Carriage Road, Rocky Mount. He came to see me, and he has a little bit of an unusual situation, and he does have a legitimate point. What happened was in 1997, Mr. Guthrie purchased 2 lots, lots 4 and 5, and I think you've got the documents with you. You've probably got
We do.
one of them contains a map or plat, and actually I think it has a before and an after plat in it. But anyway, he purchased these 2 lots in the R.L. Langley subdivision, which is along Old Carriage Road. They were combined, and then the mapping division of the tax department in '97 listed the property, the acreage, total acreage, incorrectly at 1.86 acres, when actually it should have been listed as 1.77 acres. So you do have a discrepancy, or an error actually, of 9/100ths of an acre, and and then of course by the tax office incorrectly listing it, it was incorrectly billed, and he paid his taxes in a timely manner each year for every year after that, then in late 2017, you've got a copy of his written request that the taxes be refunded for the years of '97 through 2015. Now, when we sat down, and Mr. Guthrie is a very nice gentleman, and I think from my understanding of our conversation, this is pretty much on the principle of the thing. And I did explain to him that unfortunately the tax law only allows us to go back the 5 years. And he said, I understand that,
Is that
but
administratively, or that you can only do it administratively for
well,
5 years?
I think the statute applies to the board, what the board is limited to as well, technically. And if Vince wants to jump in and
Well, the time before we have addressed this, it was you as well as the board.
yes, and I explained to him too that as far to my knowledge, there was we don't have any kind of precedent that indicates, you know, that you all have gone back beyond that point in the past. But then he respectfully asked that I put this before the board for you all to make a decision, and which I obviously told him that I would. So now what happened here, the 2016 bill, he actually brought this to our attention, and he actually brought it to our attention in 2016, and it was corrected. He paid the correct amount, and then 2017 bill went out corrected in the correct manner as well. So really, what he's asking for is from 1997 through 2015. So because of the timing of when he requested the refund and the guidance given by the statute, I indicated to him that, you know, we would only be able to, I would have to recommend a refund of 2012, 13, 14, and 15. That would be what I would be recommending. However, you know, I would present both scenarios. The amount that the statute allows, as far as my interpretation of it, for you to refund would be $38.80. The amount of refund requested by the taxpayer to cover the span of all those years would actually be $163.32. So, I'll be glad to try to answer any questions that you might have, but that's what is before you today. It's, like I say, it's just a matter of, it's an unfortunate situation that the error was made.
The 163.32 includes the 38?
Yes, sir, it does. It does. It's 9/100ths of an acre, so it's not a lot, but on the principle of the thing, Mr. Guthrie does have a point. And I think the way most taxpayers logically think about things is, hey, I make a mistake, I pay for it. So, you know, that's the way a taxpayer would naturally look, I think, at us, you know. But also, we have the statutes that we have to go by to guide us through the process. And sometimes they, unfortunately, don't always seem fair, but they are the statutes that we're given by the state of North Carolina that govern what we do. So, I can see both sides of the issue.
Where did the tax department get 1.86?
Well, you know, we don't know. We think it must have been like you really can't look at the two. It's just a typo, or they probably added it up and then transposed the numbers.
Did his bill show 1.86?
Well,
on his tax bill
yes,
every year?
and that's a good point. The bill each year showed 1.86. But apparently, Mr. Guthrie discovered the error sometime in 2016. So he may have thought for all these years that 1.86 was right, and then in reviewing his documents for whatever reason, then he discovered that, hey, they're not right. This is an error.
Mr. Durham, do you have any comment on his interpretation of his statute that you can add?
5 years is the most you can give.
According to the statute.
According to the statute, his request is to go to the governing board to you,
Right.
and that's all you can give him.
Okay.
You're saying you can't deviate
Can't
from
do-
5?
Not allowed to.
I know that's what we had in other
That's
couple
allowed.
cases. Yeah. So in order for us to do more than that, we would have to have a statute change for us to be able to do it correctly.
Correct.
Okay.
Is that a local statute, a state
That's a general statute, yes, sir.
That's North
Yes,
Carolina
sir.
State.
Generally, any refund beyond the statutorily allowed, the commissioners can be held personally liable for that, if anyone.
Yes, that's 105.380, which is just before the 105.381, obviously. But that is, I didn't give you a copy of that, but that is right, it's the
Yep.
105.380.
Any board member have any questions at this time of the facts in this case? It's somewhat similar to what you probably read in the paper recently about Rocky Mount and a long overcharged electric bill. But in that case, the city had a policy where they would only refund, I believe it's for a 3-year period, but in that case, it was a local policy. And they in turn eventually changed that and gave the gentleman a refund for the whole X number of years, which if I remember right, may have been as much as 17 years that it was incorrectly. But the difference in what we got here and what they had there was a local statute versus a state statute. So our hands are kind of tied. Are we calling for us to take any action on this taxpayer request? Yes, so at this time, I'd entertain a motion of what the board wishes to do with this matter.
Before you do that.
Yes, sir. Any more
Is it
questions?
wise for us to have a local statute?
When we can't have a statute that's different from
You
the,
can't state the state rules.
No, you
controls
can't.
this. This
You
is a
can't.
tax statute. Department of Revenue.
yeah.
Okay.
Constitution requires uniform.
The motion that I think we
In
would
tax.
need would be that we would agree, the motion would be in the form that we would agree with our tax assessor that we would at this time reimburse the gentleman for 5 years worth of back taxes on this item in accordance with the general statute. I'd entertain that motion.
According to the general statute.
Yes, sir.
And in this
Yeah,
case,
also
technically, it's
motion.
4 years, but.
I offer motion that we refund, what's his name, Mr. Guthrie,
Mr. Guthrie,
according to the general statute of 5 years.
Have a motion by Mr. Bellfield, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Combs. Any questions on the motion by any
Is it
commissioner?
actually 5 years now?
No,
or-
it's actually 4 years.
This actually is 4 years
Okay, 'cause he's
because
already
of
got
the
a year.
timing of his request.
Right.
So it might be
3880
that
for that
clarification to the motion.
Yes, sir, there's a limit as to how long you can wait
Since you've already done it for
for 17 and 16.
So you've already
Okay,
corrected
for
for,
years.
for 1 year? Oh, okay. Well, what would the motion would be then, Mr. Bellfield, is we reimburse him for 4 years?
yeah,
then?
that's what I just said.
Which
Okay,
is
all right, thank you.
$38.80.
Right,
Yes, sir.
and your second goes along with that, okay. Any questions, other questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Wren.
Chairman.
Please give the taxpayer our condolences that we wish we could do better, but our hands are kinda tied.
And I did let him know about the meeting today, and he said unfortunately he didn't think he'd be able to be here, but
Okay, all right.
I'll pass it along.
10-4. Item 7 on the agenda is approval of design work for Miracle Park at Coopers. Call on our county engineer, Mike Tosin at this time. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. In front of you, I believe everybody should have a copy, went out in the packets, for the proposed design fee for Stocks Engineering. They were our selected consultant that we have that's doing the design for the Miracle Park at Coopers. Just a few points on this, and if everybody's kind of looked at it, this has come to us once. The Parks Committee looked at the proposed fee at the time that it came in, had comments and had revisions that we went back and negotiated with the consultant to revise the scope to be a little more reasonable, a little more economically feasible, and we have come up with what we have in front of us today. If you are looking at, I believe it's page 5 of the proposal, it's the list out of the individual costs of each phase of the project. The preliminary investigation phase, most of this work has been done, not quite all of it, but most of this work's been done, the topographic surveys and everything. So we've been moving forward in good faith with this project just to keep the project rolling, and this is where we are. But the conceptual site plan designs, of course, we've done that already, and we did that as part of the general phase so we could know what direction we were all heading with the design of the park. The section D is really where the negotiation part is, and those 4 or 5 items that are in there are where the scope and fee was changed considerably in order to get this fee to the level it is today. So with that, I just present this to you for consideration. It's been looked at and reviewed, and I think we had a fairly good consensus among the Parks Committee that they liked the revised fee, and just present it to you today for approval so that we can get the county manager to sign the contract and we can move forward.
Mike, do you recall the reduction you were able to negotiate amount approximately?
It was in the $35,000 to $40,000 range.
That's what I recall, I just want to make sure.
Looks like to me this winds up being somewhere in the neighborhood of 100,000.
Right at it, yes, sir. And some of these items that are listed here may or may not happen in the course of the work. We may not necessarily need as much geotech. We may not need some of this, but these are their items, and then every proposal has the hourly fee listed down at the bottom just in case we have additional costs here and there. There's maybe a few areas we could save a little more, but it'll be as an as-needed basis that we'll pay them for their services as they come through on this. But this is the general structure of what they'll be asking for.
And this is not just a design contract fee, it's total from start to finish. It includes the bidding phase as well as the inspection phase.
That's right. That's what 2 or 3 or 4 of the items in D are, and we'll be doing a little bit of the construction admin and also construction inspection in-house. So we'll have some savings there that we'll handle with our staff, but at the same time, they will need some supervision of some of the construction since they are the certifying engineer on the job.
Okay. The Park Committee did get this before, as Mr. Tosin said. We reviewed it together, and we all felt like it was a little bit on the high side, and we just asked Mr. Tosin to go back and negotiate some more, and And I believe, if I remember right, I have a number in my head of about $38,700 that it came down from to the second time that you presented to us. So any questions from any commissioners at this time? Seeing none, we are asking for approval of this design work, which will allow the manager to sign the contract. I'd entertain a motion for approval of the contract as presented by Mr. Tosin at this time. Moved by Mr. Outlaw, is there a second to that motion? Second by Ms. Wells and Ms. Barnes at the same time. I will honor Ms. Wells, since she's on the park committee. Any questions on the motion itself? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries. And Mr. Tosin, while you're up there, we'll move right on into item 8, which is a discussion on the new water rates. You laughed, did I do something wrong?
No, sir, I just, we'll move right into the less pleasant of the two items. We've got it.
Could have done the ugly first.
No, sir, it doesn't matter. Let's
Okay.
let's tear the Band-Aid off.
Okay.
So what you've got in front of you, I have drafted a memo for just to kind of give an overall scope. It should be a separate packet with memo and some lots of documentation behind it. But there are several scenarios we've run. At the budget retreat, we were given the direction to sort of look at what our rate structure could be, what it can be, what the possibilities are, where we would need to move to, and what sort of changes we would need to make. I offer this package to you to consider, to review. I know nobody's gotten to see it. We had a little bit of trouble getting some of our usage data out of our accounting program. We were able to get that late last week, so I couldn't get this out in your package to you before now for everybody to look at. So with that said, I hope we can take this and I can answer questions, and over the course of whatever time you see appropriate to come back and talk about this if we do eventually go with some sort of rate increase.
We talked about doing this at budget approval.
Well, we wanted to get it in front of budget approval, but I had to run some numbers so you could look at it and see. I realize I'm coming up against that window pretty quickly, but this was the quickest I could get this analysis to you.
Mr. Lamb.
Unlike the tax rate, water rates can be adjusted at any time during the fiscal year. He's also included comparable rates in Edgecombe, Wilson, and I believe Franklin.
Franklin's in there, yes, sir.
Franklin counties. As a enterprise fund, water funds are supposed to be self-sustaining. When we broke up the, we used to have solid waste and water together, and since we've broken that up, the water is not at this point self-sustaining, but it's doing better all the time. But so we would just like at some point to have you consider an increase in the base fee and some other tier increases so that we can make it self-sustaining. Now, administratively, we've done a few things that will be reflected in the general fund. We were charging 50% of Mike's salary and Mike Phillips' salary to the water system. We feel like we can honestly change that to 25% for each of them to reduce the amount that the water system is paying for their salaries.
Did they agree to the 25% reduction in salary?
Yeah, they heed and hawed, but yeah. But yeah. So, you know, we're trying to be fair to the water system as well as to the taxpayers, and given the time they spend on their other responsibilities, we thought 50-50 was a little high. So that's one recommendation we will have in the July 1 budget, and that's regardless of any adjustment that the board will consider then or at another time. So,
what do you think the appropriate amount of time Mr. Tosin or Mr. Lamb that we should give notice of an increase to our customer base? What is adequate to do that?
I would recommend that we get out in front of this expansion that's going on, simply because we'll be doing a recruitment as part of it. Maybe before construction begins, at least before then, hopefully the month we're bidding, which is the next couple of months, we hope to have it out on the street for bids, just so that when the construction is visible and people start coming in, it is not I came in and signed up at this rate, and
Right.
now
I
you're
do
telling me
remember
yes.
that was one of our goals, is
Yes,
to get
sir.
ahead of that. Yes, sir.
I would recommend 60 days would be adequate notice.
Okay.
And I think
That's my experience anyway.
there
Well, I
there
don't
has
think
been
we
some
need to.
mention, excuse me, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead, sir.
There's been some mention in the paper, in the newspapers, whether it was completely accurate or not, of whether it was coming, but we did discuss this at the budget retreat, and it was mentioned in some of the local papers, because someone had shown me an article today before I came up here that it's, there's been some discussion about it. So, not that that's formal notice, but that is, it's on people's minds at this point, so.
And our wholesale rate from the city of Rocky Mount goes up a CPI amount each year, so, and y'all have not increased these fees in several years, so we just feel like to make it self-sustaining, the fund balance will be depleted, we believe, after this year, or close to it, and we just have to look ahead, unfortunately.
What I feel like we need to do then is have the board take the information given to you and have time to study it. And at our next meeting, which will be the May 7th meeting, we at that point in time could discuss it and then give proper notice to our users.
Before the budget meeting.
Or the budget meeting. Okay, well, let's do that. Let's do it on the 30th. We'll discuss it further, but that'll give you between now and then for us to look at it. And Mike, do you have, is it summarized in here what fees are changing, or could you send it to us email?
Well, what I tried on the front page was to ask,
Okay.
I have proposed several scenarios of,
Okay, I got you.
we can do this, or
Right.
this, or a combination of things, and
All right.
that's what I wanted to, if anybody had questions on that, and if my wording wasn't, very clear, if you could please, you wanna call me, or I'm happy to talk about it now. I know it's short notice, but one of the things that we talk about in our current structure is tier structure.
Right.
So we have, for the first 5,000 gallons of water, it's this much per 1,000 gallons. For the next 5,000 gallons of water you use in a month, it's so much per 1,000 gallons. What we have proposed, and we've run the numbers based on, is our median use from our residential and commercial customers is 3,000 gallons. It has been for the past 4 years. We've run all the numbers we could get, so our middle of the road user is 3,000 gallons a month. So that's why we've proposed possibly compressing the tiers to a 3,000 gallon tier, where after 3,000 gallons, the price goes up incrementally for the next 3,000 gallons and then the next 3,000 gallons. So when it starts talking about tier compression inside of here, that's all we're talking about. Right now, our tiers are 5, and we'd like to go to 3 so that we can capture the higher water users. There's a little bit higher rate, even if we don't change rates that much. But that's all worked out in these color tabulations in your list. But it's a lot of numbers on a lot of different sheets of paper that we're more than happy to try and go through with you if you have questions.
Do any of, I haven't read this, does any of this information indicate for each scenario, how long it would be sustainable at that particular scenario?
I don't have
Is there any feel for that, or what I don't wanna do is, come in here and approve something and then turn right back around in a year or so and have to bump these water rates
Yes, sir.
again.
What I did was, in this, was we ran adjusting the base fee by a $5 or a $10 increment which brings us in line with surrounding counties, and I showed what that revenue could be. And we have a shortfall between, I say shortfall, we have a need for fund balance at the end of each budget year still, even after raising it by the $10 requested, based on what our current numbers of users are.
Do you recommend one scenario over the other?
I recommend a hybrid approach in here, and I've leaned towards that, but not coming out and saying, we need to talk about it before, you know, a recommendation, because you may have some, I may be going down a road that, you know, we're not doing that, and I don't want to do that. But in order to be able to reach this goal, I have said we need to raise the base rate by $10 to bring us to a $30 base, which is what the surrounding counties of us, other than Wilson's at 25. And the other two counties are at 30. And then we need to consider compressing our tiers to a 3,000 gallon tier, and then possibly on top of that, a last resort is to go to a $1 per 1,000 gallon increase in tier.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
It would mean that if you are a minimum user of water, 3,000 gallons a month, and you're a residential customer, your water bill would go up by $13 per month.
Is there anything in here that speaks to the point that Chairman Davis made at our budget retreat, in terms of if I've got a tap, but I haven't hooked on?
We've got about 750 those are availability customers.
Yeah.
That's not listed in here because we were staying away from changing that number. But there are about 750 availability users in the system that are not, I say users, availability customers that don't have a connection, that are paying a $20 a month fee for the availability of that tap that we talked about.
Do we plan to address that in this whole?
We were, the talk and the very good suggestion that was made at the budget retreat was to not touch that fee.
We're gonna leave that at $20 availability fee and we've talked about,
I guess my question
a
is,
period of
so if I've paid
months.
50 years or
That's, y'all discussed that.
forever and ever?
Y'all discussed that at the,
Right.
that's what the contract says that they signed. Y'all have discussed at the budget retreat, I believe, the sunsetting of perhaps that after a period of
Well,
months.
Mr. Davis brought it up. I thought
I
it was
forget who
something
brought
worth
it.
considering.
Well, I brought it up, but my only concern would be, Mr. Outlaw, is we certainly should consider having a sunset on it, but the sunset has got to be tied to a profitability of the system. At that point, which I can see coming with this new water district relatively soon, but I don't know that we can serve ourselves well by tying it to a given year versus a given profitability level for the system itself.
But you can somehow include in this whole system, after we're all gone at some point in time, it may be after that, it may be before that.
I
But
certainly wouldn't have
this
it.
to be revisited at some point in time.
I wouldn't have any issue with us making a statement in our new rate schedule if the board so approved to annually look at that, and at the time that the system is self-supporting, for a 3-year period, that we could then
That's all I'm
possibly look at that.
Yes, sir. And we've pulled some of those numbers, but right now the immediate concern was to get these numbers together and to get them in front of you. And I have been working on those, that scenario to try and change the policy.
Mr. Lamb?
And I mentioned that we were shifting 25% of their salary to the general fund because we feel that's appropriate. Most water systems also do indirect cost, which means the finance offices and other contributing departments and maintenance and things like that. And we are not doing that. So we're doing everything we can to keep the rates as low as possible.
But we knew that going in, and quite frankly, the situation we've got with the new district and the amount of grant money that we receive versus percentage-wise what we received before, and then the extremely zero or extremely low interest rate is gonna get us to that point. Hopefully sometime, once we get this next section completed, I feel like we will be there. Mike, and what Mr. Outlaw's talking about, why don't you also, one of you gentlemen, just look at other counties to see if they have had a sunset in theirs up front, or if they have decided at a later date. I'd be real interested in Halifax's, because they've been at it a very long time, to see if they made that decision, because we did have that availability fee up front in Halifax, I know. But I'm almost certain that they do not have that fee anymore, but that needs to be verified.
I'll get ready to
I do
talk
know
about that on the
counties,
30th.
some counties have had sunsets on that.
I would really like to see a recommendation
Sure.
from you guys, what you think would allow us to sustain this for the greatest period of time without having to come back and revisit it in a year or so.
If we can maybe take until the 30th, and at their budget meeting, if I could come back in and I can try and have a little bit more information for you then.
And we'll study this in the meantime.
Any other questions?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
This time we're on item number 9. Anybody on the board need a break, or you want to keep rolling?
Yeah.
We do have a break call for, I'll give a 5-minute recess.
We'll do the committee or special report, starting with Commissioner Richardson, District 1.
Yes, we had our meeting last month, and we visited 3 assisted livings, and everything was working well, and we had 3 members present.
Talking about community caregiver advisory
Yeah.
board, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anything else, Ms. Richardson?
That's it.
Thank you very much. District 2, Commissioner Belfield. You got
Okay.
4 different committees.
Yeah, farmers market's getting off to a pretty good start now, tell you. I've been watching it for the past 2 weeks, and the parking lot's filled up, and even the side streets in Market Down, it looks like, to me, I haven't talked with the director as to the attendance, but it appears to me that everything is getting off to a good start.
Commissioner Belfield,
Mhm.
if I may, I today got notice that the director is retiring, and so we will be advertising that part-time position.
Mr. Winters?
Jerry Winters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
I was asking Saturday.
I think he's had some health issues.
Yeah.
He's got some.
Yeah. But he didn't indicate to us when we met
Yeah, I saw
in
him.
February that he may be looking at retirement. Okay, juvenile crime prevention, we dealt with the budget at our last meeting, and we have, let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 agencies that we funded last year. And the committee has recommended that they be refunded in the county, the state's part for this funding for JCPC. It would be $240,814. County's part would be $46,651.20. Have you received that? Okay. So that's where that is, and most of them are doing a real good job, because if it weren't, the funding committee would either cut the funds or pull them totally and advertise for some other agency that may could pick up that. Tar River Transit, we dealt with rural budget at our last meeting. We're only meeting on quarterly basis now, and we approved the operating budget for rural for $2,445,200, because that has to go to the state, and the state is handling the federal and the rural. And the capital for the rural, this is 2019, $602,250 to replace 10 vehicles, all fixed so that they can handle handicap and whatever they need. The rural service running in the evening, it runs from 6, in the rural areas, it runs from 6 to midnight. urban operating budget for 203,000. The urban capital budget is 625,000. They want to rehab the transit terminal and the mobile fare collection project, and that'll be $172,443. Any questions? Basically, that's what I'm leading depth with the funding. All of this information should come to the county if you hadn't already received it. Let's see, what's my next one? Upper Coastal Plain Council of Government. We are in the midst now, we have a search committee that's working. We got 16, and we had a consultant to handle it for us, and he sent us 16 applications. We as a committee, we rated them, and then they met last week. I had to miss that meeting because I had a conflict that I couldn't be there. But anyway, they came up with anyway, we came up with 5, and I had the list here. What did I do with it? One of them is in-house, and 4 of them is some. Oh yeah, here we are. Came up with 5 that we're going to interview, and we're going to do it May the 2nd. That's on a Wednesday. And Ron Townley, who is the planning director for Upper Coastal Planning, is one of the candidates. This Linda Millsap, I think she's from either Georgia or Florida. And the rest of them within state. So
She's with the County Commissioners Association.
She was.
yeah, you're right. The county commission is Charles Hammond, who is from down.
She was, is she retired from it?
She left them about a month ago.
So you talked to him?
Linda Millsap left the association about a month ago.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, she rated pretty high.
Yeah, she should.
For that,
She's very.
and Robert Hyde also rated high. But anyway, on May the 2nd, we will start interviewing. We'll start to be over there all day, starting at 8:30, and we're going to work until we finish. And have a recommendation for the total board in their May meeting. Not the May meeting, I meant the June meeting, because we'll be doing this in May. We do have a total board meeting in May. Anybody want to see this, and anybody want to see how I rated them? Mine, they're pencil, and it's pretty close to what the total.
What position is that for?
Executive Director Greg Goddard is retired. Yeah, he had a light stroke, and he said he thought it was best that he go on and retire. Let's see.
That it, Mr. Bellfield?
That is not unless you have some questions.
You always provide a lot of good information.
Well,
Very
thank you. Sometimes I wonder if I'm providing too much.
Appreciate it. District 3, Commissioner Cone.
I don't have any report. Neither board has met since the last time we met. Human Services Board meets Thursday.
District 4, Commissioner Barnes.
Nash UNC Hospital Board, Dr. Isley has officially taken his position. He was at our last meeting. He's taking over his new role, and he will be meeting with all the board members on a one-on-one basis in the next few weeks, so I'll be meeting with him. We still have several other vacancies in administration to be filled, and they are currently in that process to fill those vacancies. One is the CFO, and the other one is the Chief Medical Officer. So, the newly renovated cafeteria opened last week. I haven't seen it yet. And our last meeting is April 20th, I believe, next week for the stakeholder meeting with the Coastal Plain Hospital. So the board will be receiving a recommendation on Coastal Plain at the May meeting. So that's going to be interesting to see what goes on there for the future of Coastal Plain.
We'll
Trio.
meet this Friday, right?
Isn't it the 20th?
I think it's this Friday.
Is it this Friday?
I think
That's
so.
right, because that's, yeah, April 20th, whatever I said, it's April 20th. Then the Trillium Board, Amy Pridgeon and I went to the meeting a couple weeks ago, and she was sworn in as the new member. Trillium continues to outpace other MCOs in the opioid crisis. All the MCOs were given $1.2 million from a Cures grant. Trillium spent 100% of that money. The other MCOs spent anywhere from 25 to 70%. So in January, Trillium was allocated an additional $1.9 million in funds for that, of which $1.2 million has to be spent by April 30th. And Trillium has designated for 50% of those funds to go to the medically assisted treatment program. And that's what we do in our detention center. So I think we're the only county in that area, in that MCO that has that treatment program.
Is that the injection
Mhm.
program?
And it's very expensive, so
Right.
that's gonna help a lot.
New Hanover's in a different.
Oh, no, New Hanover is in our,
Okay, I'm thinking
Trillium.
Hanover is.
So that's the two that are in that program, that's right, okay. And,
Well, I was gonna say that Trillium got a grant to study, this walk-in mental health, where patients can just walk in and not be asked a whole lot of questions, and what the results are, they were supposed to be sharing it with the other agencies in the state. Is that over with? Have they completed that?
I'm not familiar with that. I don't know anything about the study, so.
Well, they came to the Human Resource Committee of the County Commissioners Association year before, in 16.
Okay.
And presented it, what they were gonna do with that grant. And that it was contingent on that the results of it would be shared with all the other agencies as it relates to mental health.
Okay, I can check on that. We're gonna be meeting with Dave Peterson the next week.
What did you say again, the amount was on that medical treatment program that they were?
So, they got an additional $1.2 million, and they designated half of that.
For Nash County?
Well, it'll be split between
Between
Nash
Nash
and New
and-
Hanover for that program.
So 600,000,
Mhm.
is that money carry over to future years, or do you have to spend it all, or?
It has to be spent by April 30th, and this was from the state, so I don't think it's gonna.
Is it experimental, a grant?
Well, how many,
There's no way we can
there's no
spend it
way
by
you can
then.
spend that kind of money.
Maybe it has to be
You've only
allocated to us.
You've only
by-
got just less than a handful.
Well, this was, we met like 3 weeks ago, so I guess they had already had where they were gonna put it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they got strict criteria on these grants when they have to, they have to spend it on certain
It just seemed like a lot more money
things.
than we would be able to take advantage of.
$1,800,
It don't take long.
And a shot don't take long.
Well, that's, but you only got one or two that you're administering the shot
I
to,
think we
right?
have 5 or 6.
Last I heard.
I guess Chief Medina, do you have a thought on that?
I don't think it's gonna be, you talk about that amount that she talked from
Right.
now to June 30th, I don't think it may carry over. Is that what you're talking about?
I think my guess is if they grant it to the two counties by April
30th, then you can,
then we'll be able to access it.
that was just the terminology he used, it had to be
Yeah.
spent by April 30th.
But
Yeah.
you wouldn't, would you be able to carry it over? You don't know?
Yeah, say it's $500,000 each, then they would transfer it to us by April
So
30th.
it would be able to
Right.
carry it
And
over?
we would have to
Continue
account
to-
for it as we spend it in the future,
Okay. Right.
hopefully.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, that was,
And we are
Helps.
meeting, as she just said, we are meeting with the two board
Dave.
members and Mr. Peterson to, between now and the 30th, to figure out how we're gonna spend our mental health dollars next year.
That we're meeting
that's right,
the 19th.
at 2.
Okay.
And then, the last thing is, this is a brochure that, was sent to the school systems, the stakeholders in the school systems about some of the, programs that Trillium offers, crisis intervention training, some of the things relating to school violence. So, they've got a lot of good programs.
They also have a representative that come to the JCPC meeting, Juvenile Crime Prevention, and talk about the different programs that they could take advantage of through treatment.
That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Barnes. Nash Community College, if you were listening to Ms. Marlowe, and I know you were, I think you heard her say that they were on schedule with the 2 new buildings. So I'd heard, I believe previously from the school system, they might be a little bit behind, but it sounds like they're on schedule, and so therefore, I would expect that they should be able to get into that building in July and start whatever they need to do to prepare that for the early college. The RPO TAC are nothing significant to report from our March meeting. Our next meeting will be in May. Broadband, this morning, we all had, well, many of us went to Middlesex Bailey for the groundbreaking ceremony for the senior center. And I was thinking as we were doing that, there were a lot of people speaking, and what kind of crossed my mind was that's a project that's been in the works for a long time. And of course, Cephas Ray and others have been very instrumental in making that come to fruition. But that project, although we haven't been working on it as long as broadband has been in the works for quite a while. With that said, I saw an article in the Telegram on Saturday that I thought was pretty appropriate for this presentation today when I talk about broadband. There's a guy named Tom Campbell. You might remember him as the Assistant State Treasurer, but he's better known as the creator of North Carolina SPIN, which is a very nonpartisan group. They sit and they talk about a lot of important issues, and I always enjoy watching it. But
Well, it's a partisan group, but they have all sides
well,
covered.
they do. So to me, that makes it kind of nonpartisan, because they do have both sides
Them
presented.
two guys on diagonals will probably disagree with that.
Yeah, if you listen to Hood and Fitzsimmons, but he wrote an article, and it was in the Telegram on Saturday, and he said, if you were asked, what do you think is the greatest need for rural North Carolina, what would it be?
Broadband.
Broadband.
Yeah,
And I'm gonna pass out a copy of this and hope you'll take it and read. It's got a lot of good information in there. But I think broadband is very important, and I'm hoping that, I believe, we've been very active on it for a number of years, and Ms. Barnes and Commissioner Cone since he's come on, and I know the attorneys had input into it, and the manager and the chairman and others, and It's been a process that I believe now we are approaching a point where we are going to see something happen with this. So with that said, Ms. McGee, I would not want to forget her either. She has probably been the real driver for this whole thing. But I asked her to give me an update on where we stand with the proposals that we solicited, and that was at the attorney's recommendation. I thought it was a good recommendation. And she indicated to me that the following information. On Thursday, February 15th, Nash County received 4 proposals to provide high-speed internet service to the unserved and underserved areas of Nash County. And of course, we cannot share much information on that because it's proprietary and confidential, but can say that the proposals varied in many ways, including technology, coverage, and cost. On Friday, March the 23rd, the committee, that would be myself, and I believe, Ms. Barnes, were you there that day? I think you had to miss that day, and so I believe the chairman sat in that day, and so, but anyway, there were proposals were presented and regarding the 4 proposals that we received, and for the firms that were asked to submit follow-up information, and there were some, that was received on April the 5th and the 13th. It's currently under review, and Ms. McGee will be scheduling us back together to look at these and try to come to some decision on where we go with this project. But it's going to be an expensive project, and it's as the chairman has indicated before, there's really not much collateral to hang your hat on, so it's probably coming out of fund balance. So as we try to do everything, we want to do it right the first time. So what we select, who we work with here, is going to be very important for the county. And I thank everyone for their time and attention with that project. That completes my report. Now I turn it back over, I'm sorry, Ms. Wells.
I have a report.
Ms. Wells has no report, so I'll turn it back over to the chairman for his report and then for the continuation of the meeting.
I will say for Dan and Wayne, I brought up a point at that meeting when we interviewed them about a personal problem I had with CenturyLink. And remember, I asked them what their service would be like. That was on a Friday, and at 12 o'clock on Monday, that line in Roanoke Rapids I've been trying to get down for about 2.5 months was taken care of by noon that day. So I'm glad I was able to attend in your place, Ms. Barnes, to take care of a personal line. Item, District number 7, Tourism Development Authority has not met since our last meeting. We will be meeting on May the 15th at the Country Inn and Suites. That will be our budget meeting when our presenters will present their budgets for next year. We have notified all the previous people that have received funds from TDA. We do have a new form that we're asking them to fill out this year. We have got that form to them. I know of a couple of new presenters we'll have. Susan, help me, we got 2, I believe, coming from the Mill Village that we would be expecting. And quite frankly, I look forward to getting those to help them with some of the events that they're doing down there. And they are also going to be doing a children's playground there in the future. And I think that's one that they'll be talking about, maybe asking Nash County and through the TDA to be helping them possibly with the funding of that playground down at the Mill Village. But we would be able to report our next meeting how that went on May the 15th. The MPO has not met since the last meeting. We'll be meeting on the 21st, which is the date of our next commissioner meeting. We'll be meeting at 4:30 that afternoon. The Whitaker Shell Building, excuse me.
You were quick. That was quick.
It was a test, and Commissioner Combs passed the test and got an A+. No, but we will be doing another one at Whitaker's Park one day, I hope, probably the next one maybe. But at the Middlesex Shell Building, it is under construction. I was down in Middlesex last Thursday evening, and when we left, I did ride down there and look at it. The site is graded.
They were
a
hauling
lot of
dirt
dirt been
crazy.
moved. The pad has been constructed. They actually have stone on the pad, so I was pretty impressed with it. It's a little further back in the park than what I thought it was.
Me too, I thought it was.
Closer up towards the front, but I invite you to ride down there.
Wait till it dries off a
You
little
might have
bit.
already announced that at the last meeting.
if you're down in the Middlesex area, you had to get back with me on that. I don't-
125, the grant from Golden Leaf for that.
Oh, yeah, okay, and yeah, I do have that on here. I
Okay,
see what it
okay.
meant now. I didn't know what you meant there. But on that, you know, we had applied to Golden Leaf for some funds to, help with the infrastructure down there. We did get notified last week that we, were awarded the, $1,250,000 for the water and sewer in that part. So, if you happen to run into anyone with Golden Leaf, certainly show your appreciation from that. That would be a great help to us to get utilities in that park, so we were tickled to death to get that. Dan, did you have anything you wanted to add to that other than it is in Middlesex, sir?
No, sir. You done good with the rest of it.
Okay.
That was
I
enough,
apologize
right?
for that.
Don't go right down there until today, cause it's muddy.
Yeah, you don't,
It
well,
is
you can
muddy.
get down there, but you wouldn't want to go on the site. I was able to ride all over the site last Thursday. Go Rock, we did, a smaller group met, on the 11th of April to discuss one particular, item that the state is looking after for us, which is the, nuisance and abatement. They updated us on that, and it, has come along very well, thanks to the state's work on it and the sheriff's department's work on it. They have been doing a lot of surveillance, et cetera, what, sheriff's departments do out there, and had a barrel of cases to move that project forward, and we certainly look forward, very soon to being able to hopefully get, a resolution on the third hotel out there. Vince, anything you want to add with that? I know we were supposed to say very little about that one, and I'll keep moving, sir. But, Lou, Miss Richardson and myself did attend that particular meeting. And then I just added on here for the benefit of the rest of the board, the Joint School Board Committee that Mr. Outlaw, Mr. Belfield, and myself have been attending. We had our third meeting last week, before we went down to Elizabeth City. I would pleased to say, I think those meetings are going real well. They have 5, school board members there. I think it's helping. I will tell you, the tone of the meeting, the first one, which was extremely tense, and the last one, I thought had improved. I hope Mr. Belfield, Mr. Outlaw will agree with me. The tone had improved, and the atmosphere where I think we all felt a lot more comfortable. I think we'll certainly be continuing those meetings, and we're working twofold. We're working on capital, which is really what we had asked for, and they're also presenting to us as we move forward what their current expense needs look like moving over the next few years. So I think it's a very good thing that we are meeting with them. I think it will help us with our meeting that we've got scheduled on the 24th. We've exchanged a lot of information. We've learned, or I personally have learned quite a bit. And I believe we're very much in tune on the capital side of it. I think we have still got a lot of work to do on current expenses. But on the capital side, Wayne, Mr. Belfield, don't you think we pretty much in sync on where we're headed with that?
I would sum it up that we are learning each other.
We're learning each other, exactly.
And each other's personality and everything, and it has improved the working relationship.
It has, and they are on board with looking forward at keeping us informed on their capital needs. We're right in line or right on time with the early college and what we'll be doing out there, and if those buildings get finished up like we think they will now, that'll certainly happen in a very timely manner. We've got one little thing we're still working on with the permitting of the early college, but I think we'll have that resolved pretty quickly. But that's my report, Commissioner Outlaw, and I will continue on the agenda. We have a closed session item. First of all, Mr. Manager, did you have anything else?
I was just gonna add that, that Tom Campbell, before working for Harlan Bowles, was owned an AM radio station in Elizabeth City, and his father was Hartwell Campbell,
Right.
and his grandfather founded Campbell University.
Is that right? Yeah. How about that? Ms. Richardson, are you okay right now with closed session?
No, 10 minutes.
got another 10 minutes, okay? All right.
Let me say this, that, I didn't just miss the groundbreaking this morning. I had a company there putting in a new heat and air unit at the house, and I felt like I needed to be there. And so that's why I didn't know they were coming today. I knew they would be coming, but they called me early this morning and said, "We coming now, we need to get this done."
Understood.
Get out with, so I said, I better. Ernestine said, "Well, why don't you go on out, take it?" I said, "No, I think I need to be here." They make sure they do it like they said they were gonna do it.
We had great board participation, and it was a very nice event.
And the chairman recognized you, so.
Chairman did recognize it, and I think Jonathan, have it ready for you to look at, very shortly, if you want to look at the presentation this morning. This time, I would call for a closed session to consult with the attorney on, employee, or other attorney-client privilege in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 143 to discuss matters related to the location or expansion of an industry or other businesses.